everybody, it's Karen Schaefer with Peak Price Colorado at Remax Properties. Welcome to Monday's edition of Karen Schaefer's House Stories. Now, as you can see around me, I'm at this cute little GeoDome. That's right. How many of you have ever thought, gosh, I'd love to stay in a GeoDome? Well, probably not. But guess what? This one is super cute. The remodel is going great and it's absolutely extraordinary. So I want to tell you a little bit about the story of this house and why we're here. Initially, the investor that currently owns this property bought it a couple years ago for a very low price because it needed all kinds of mechanicals and it has never been updated. As a matter of fact, instead of wood beams, it had brown carpet that they were trying to fake as beams. So it needed a lot of love. But this particular property was quickly flipped to someone else who did a lot of the mechanical work and lived here and counted it as their primary residence. Well, as the story goes, that same person contacted the initial investor when they decided to move back to the East Coast and said, would you like to rebuy it? That investor said, how much? And basically they worked something out to where the original investor rebought the house, and now he's actually doing all the updates. So those brown carpet strips have been removed, new flooring, new paint, new lighting. It's cute as a bug. To be very honest with you, it's going to be a short-term vacation rental property. But like a lot of my clients, this one called and said, hey, can you give us some advice? So we walked through we did the initial walkthrough in the house. I suggested some various fix-ups, and most of those items have already been done. Now they're working on the outside, and they're struggling with paint colors. You can see behind me, they wanted to add a few kind of cabinet accents, so they added the faux log siding, which can look super cute, but in a way we're looking disjointed, and a lot of that is because of color. So they didn't bring all the color in, which we see happens often on many homes, but also I think in Colorado, color affects color because our sun is so strong. And even here, we're at probably close to 9,000 feet. And so we really get a lot of sun up here. And when the sun hits the trees, we get that white and green bounce, and it really affects the color. So when you do a light color like this against a dark color like this, with a cedar color in the middle, it looks kind of like, I don't know. So we're going to help fix that problem, pull it all together so the outside ends up as cute as the inside. So I went to Sherwin-Williams. I grabbed a couple colors. One is called Cottonwood. And the thing about Cottonwood is it's kind of an I want to say an off-white, but it has a little bit of gray, a little bit of beige. It's not a true grayish, but you can take a look at that. It's what I really want to call it is a very pale khaki. And I like this color a lot. And what it's going to do is it's going to actually soften the trim. So when I go to do trim color, I want to see what it looks like here. And then I also like to do it against where it's going to go. So that means I need to see how this color affects the color it's going to sit next to. Because remember earlier when I said color affects color? Well, that's also true with the white against the cottonwood. So we need to see what color the cottonwood turns once it's against the white. So I'm going to suggest the cottonwood as the right color for the trim, because it'll actually go with the white window, but it'll soften the white trim. So you can see when we put it against the cedar, all of a sudden, and I'm going to ask Megan, who's doing my filming. Megan, don't you think that already looks so much better?
Yes.
Yeah, it's amazing. It just softens it right away. And then you can see, we're going to do it one more time here, where they're going to see it against the dark wood. So this is really our kind of perfect spot right here. I'm almost out, but right there. So we can see that it goes great with the cedar. So it kind of highlights the cedar, but it also softens that dark espresso brown that they used here on the soffit and on the gutters. So right away, I think Cottonwood's kind of a winner. But because we're out here in the woods, if you will, in the forest, we're at Sherwood Forest, I also chose this color called Shade Tree. And you can see it's a really deep kind of army green. So it shares, remember when I described cottonwood as a pale khaki, I would describe this as kind of a deep forested army green, which I think will look super pretty with these other colors. So remember, we have the cedar and the cottonwood, and then the espresso, which may or may not stay, just between you and me, but I like this green color, and I think that that's going to be just perfect. Down here, can you guys see this? As we take this stucco to a green, and that way, if they decide to keep the espresso, which I'm going to recommend they take it to this green color, this shade tree color, but if they decide to keep the brown, the green will actually work really nicely with it. You guys can kind of see that. I probably should have a little bit more to get on that stucco, but you can also see if we just did this, I'm not going to keep that green there, but now you can see how that's working with the cottonwood, and then all of a sudden these colors can come together. And so what we did was we really chose like kind of a muted color pattern, but we also brought it kind of the inside out and the outside in, if you will, meaning we took some of the colors we used on the inside of the house, like a color similar to the cottonwood, and now we're mimicking that on the outside. And what that's doing is it's making it kind of all come together. It's creating a little more flow than what you would normally see. But just by adding these colors, you can see we can either pull in the espresso or get rid of it, which again is going to be my suggestion. We've already softened the white, and then when we pull in the green, everything works better together. So we've pulled in a more natural color, yet muted pattern. And I think that the investor is going to really like this. I mean, after all, he did buy this house back, right? So we want to let him fall in love with it again as well, and all of his future vacationers. So if you guys have questions about this one, give me a call. Karen Schaefer with Peak Price Colorado at RE/MAX Properties, 719-244-3420. Thanks again for joining me here today for Karen Schaefer's House Stories.